My name is Cynthia. I'm 35 years old. I've been married for 10 years to my husband, Howard. He's 40. We have a 7-year-old son named Charlie. For most of our marriage, we were the kind of couple people admired. We laughed easily. We talked about everything. We were partners, not just husband and wife, but best friends. At least, that's what I believed. But something shifted a few months ago. At first, it was small, almost invisible. The kind of change you excuse because you don't want to imagine anything serious. Howard started coming home later than usual. He'd walk in tired, barely look at me, eat dinner quietly, sit in front of the TV, and then go to bed. No conversation, no stories about his day, no gentle touches when he passed by. Just silence. Weekends used to belong to us. Family breakfasts, lazy walks, silly games with Charlie. Now, weekends were filled with meetings, golf games, or hours locked inside his home office. Every time I asked, he said the same thing. Work was stressful, responsibilities were heavy, and he couldn't trust anyone to help him. He's the boss at his company. He manages many people. I used to assist him with paperwork and finances, but he slowly pushed me away from all of it. He said it was safer if he handled everything alone. Before all this, we had a ritual. Every night, after Charlie went to sleep, we made Turkish tea and sat together at the kitchen table. We talked about our fears, our dreams, our memories. Sometimes we laughed so hard we cried. Those moments were the heartbeat of our marriage. Now, the kettle stayed cold. The table stayed empty. Last week, I sent Charlie to my mother's house. I told her I needed a quiet evening. The truth was, I needed my husband back. I thought maybe he was exhausted. Maybe he just needed rest and calm. That night, I cooked dinner and waited. Howard came home, ate without a word, and went straight to bed. He didn't ask where Charlie was. He didn't ask how I was. The next morning, he left before sunrise, even though it was the weekend. I sat alone in the kitchen, holding a cup of tea that slowly turned cold in my hands. The house felt unfamiliar. I felt like a visitor inside my own life. That night, I decided I couldn't continue like this. I needed answers. I prepared his favorite meal. I wore the red dress he once told me made me look beautiful. I brushed my hair carefully, added a touch of makeup, and waited. When he walked in, he looked exhausted. He sat down, ate quietly, and didn't even notice me. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. I whispered, "Can we talk?" He looked surprised. "Now?" "Yes, please." We sat on the couch. My hands were shaking. I tried to keep my voice steady. I told him he felt distant, that we didn't talk anymore, that I felt invisible. He stared at the floor. The silence stretched painfully. Finally, I asked the question that terrified me. "Do you still love me?" He looked up. His eyes were tired but soft. He said he loved me. He blamed stress, pressure, responsibilities. He said his mind was overloaded. I wanted to believe him, but fear pushed another question out of me. "Is there someone else?" His head snapped up in shock. He denied it immediately. He said he barely had time to breathe, let alone betray me. He held my hand and asked me to be patient. Just a little longer. He promised he would try to change. I nodded. I agreed to wait. But deep inside, something fragile cracked. Days turned into weeks. Nothing improved. He stayed distant. He came home late. He ate in silence. He avoided eye contact. I tried to smile, to stay supportive. I cleaned the house, played with Charlie, planned a small weekend getaway. When I suggested it, he said he had meetings, maybe next month. That night, I sat in the dark living room and whispered to myself, "Why does love feel so lonely?" I opened old photo albums, wedding pictures, honeymoon sunsets, smiling faces pressed together. Where had that version of us gone? When did we stop reaching for each other? Another evening, I sent Charlie to my mother again. Howard came home and walked straight into his office. No greeting, just the quiet click of a closing door. I stood outside that door with my hand raised, ready to knock. I wanted to demand his attention. Instead, my hand fell. I walked back to the kitchen and sat with another cup of untouched tea. A thought crept into my mind. Maybe he doesn't see me anymore. Maybe I faded into the background of his life. The next morning I woke to an empty bed. No goodbye kiss, no note, just space. I made breakfast for Charlie and smiled like everything was fine. Inside, I felt erased. That evening I tried again. I asked him to take a walk with me. Just 10 minutes. He said not now, maybe later. He didn't look at me when he said it. That night, while he worked behind his office door, I packed a small bag for me and Charlie. Then I wrote a letter. I told him I still loved him, but I couldn't survive being invisible. I told him I had waited with patience and hope, but I was losing myself. I left the letter on the table, took my son's hand, and stepped into the quiet night. We stayed with my mother. A week later, he messaged me. He said he missed us. He said the house felt empty. He promised he was ready to fix everything. I wanted to believe in us again, so I went back. For a few days, things felt softer. He tried to smile more. He talked a little. I told myself healing takes time. Then one evening, after putting Charlie to bed, I saw his phone light up on the table. I wasn't searching. I wasn't suspicious in that moment. But the screen showed a message from a woman. I miss you. Did you think about me today? My body went cold. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The words were enough. They explained the distance, the silence, the empty eyes. Tears blurred my vision. He walked in moments later, smiling casually, unaware that my world had just shattered. That night, I lay beside him while he slept peacefully. I cried without sound. I had given him my love, my youth, my trust. And somewhere along the way, he had given his heart to someone else. The next morning, I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I sat quietly at the kitchen table. He said good morning. I couldn't answer. He left without noticing the storm inside me. All day I watched Charlie play. I smiled for him. Inside, I felt broken beyond words. That evening I asked Howard to sit down. My voice was calm. I told him I saw the message. He didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He only said he was sorry. And in that moment, the truth settled heavily inside me. The distance wasn't imaginary. The silence wasn't stress. It was betrayal. I told him I needed time. Time to breathe. Time to remember who I was outside of his shadow. That night I packed another small bag and took Charlie back to my mother's house. Every step felt like tearing my heart open, but staying would have destroyed me. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep a person whole. Sometimes choosing yourself is the bravest act of love you can make, not just for you, but for the child watching you, learning what respect looks like. I didn't leave because I stopped loving him. I left because I needed to love myself again. And for the first time in months, as I closed my mother's front door behind me, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness, not relief, but peace.